So, I talked about the brain yesterday. We're on 37.3. I'm going to do 37.3 and 4 here today. As I know we talked about yesterday, there's two hemispheres, a left and a right. There's different parts. Review from yesterday. What's this part called?
Cerebrum.
That's the cerebrum. Now, if you were to cut the cerebrum, you would see on the edges, on the outside is gray looking. Those are the cell bodies of the cerebrum. And down toward, in the middle, deep down in, is white stuff. That's the myelin. The axons that are leaving those cell bodies are colored white. So we call the gray area, which is the outside of the cerebrum, we call that gray matter. And the white area down deep in the cerebrum, we call that white matter. Gray matter and white matter. Gray matter on the outside, white matter in the middle. You know why the cerebrum has all these folds?
Surface area.
It gives more surface area for cell bodies, which are gray. You can have more gray matter if you have all these folds. The gray matter is what gives you the flexibility because it's more cells. So basically, the more gray matter an organism has, usually the more intelligent it is. So that's the cerebrum, and the outside of the cerebrum we call the cerebral cortex. And we're going to look, let's go ahead and do it now. Look at this little diagram of the cerebral cortex. Scientists know what different parts of the cerebral cortex do. For instance, this part of the cerebral cortex right here, that controls your muscles. This part right here controls your leg, and this part controls the trunk of your body, and this part controls your arm muscles, and this part controls your hand muscles. And this part controls your tongue movements.
What's the trunk?
The trunk of the body is like this part. They know this because they can electrically stimulate these parts of the brain when they do brain surgeries. If they electrically stimulate that, your leg moves. If they electrically stimulate this, your arm moves. Isn't that cool? They know it also from injury. If you injure this part of the brain right here, if you have a stroke, which is where a blood vessel breaks open, and so blood is not getting there, you'll lose feeling and movement in your legs. This blue area, we call it the primary motor area. That's for moving the muscles. In this area right here, which we call the primary somatosensory area, that's for feeling. So feeling things from the leg, and feeling things from the arm, and feeling things from the hand are all right here. Feeling things from the tongue. If you had a stroke that cut off blood to right there, you wouldn't be able to taste anything anymore. Wouldn't that be bad? So who was it here that said their grandma or aunt had a stroke?
Something like Kate.
Ikea. She couldn't move the muscles on the right half of her body. So where do you think the stroke
On the left.
was?
On the blue part.
It was in the left half of the brain, since she lost half of the right half of her body. And it was in this blue area here. This part lost its blood supply. Strokes are bad. You don't want those. The brain's very important.
Is there any possible way that you can avoid strokes?
Avoid having high blood pressure. What usually happens is people get high blood pressure, and the extra pressure in those vessels busts them open.
All right, so
It's like trying to put too much water in a water balloon. It breaks open. So to avoid high blood pressure, you avoid a lot of salt, you stay trim, you exercise a lot, and you don't eat a lot of fat. And so the cholesterol, you got to make sure your cholesterol levels are low. cholesterol is found in the membranes of animal cells. Remember that? Plant cells don't have cholesterol. So if you eat plant material, you won't get cholesterol. You won't have high cholesterol. If you eat mostly meats, you get high cholesterol. Emery.
What if there's a stroke or seizure?
A stroke is when a blood vessel breaks, so part of the brain isn't getting blood. Or a blood vessel clogs. It doesn't have to break, it can clog up with fat or cholesterol or something. A seizure is when part of the brain is overly active. Like if you had a seizure right here, this means this part of the brain is firing out of control, so your arm starts moving. And some people have entire seizures where their whole body starts moving and they can't control it.
Why do they fire out of control?
They don't really know. There's different reasons for seizures. It depends upon the individual. And sometimes, I say they don't know. Sometimes they do know, and sometimes it just doesn't. Question? Did someone else have a question? Now, we actually divide the brain up into lobes. This area right here that includes this motor area is called the frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe houses speech. There's the area for speech. A stroke there and you'll lose the ability to speak. All your personality is up front here. There was a guy, a railroad worker named Phineas Gage. We study him in psychology, who had a metal rod shot. There was an explosion and a metal rod shot through his frontal lobe here. And somehow he survived it, but it forever changed his personality.
Isn't that where they got the lobotomies from?
Yeah, a lobotomy is you take a red hot poker and you stick it into the frontal lobe and move it around. It's the way they used to do it. And often it would change the person's personality and sometimes make a guy who was a murderous meanie into a nice guy. Usually it would kill the person, but they were going to kill him anyway before they did the lobotomy. So why not try that?
Have you ever seen Shutter Island?
I never saw Shutter Island.
It's like
Good
about
movie.
giving lobotomies to crazy people.
Ah,
I don't know the ending, maybe.
cool. Don't tell me the ending. Maybe I'll see it.
We did that in psychology?
No. So, I don't know. I'll see the movie and then maybe. So, this frontal area, and also, by the way, memories are stored in the frontal lobe, but they're stored everywhere in the brain. Memory is not in certain locations. It's somehow stored everywhere in the brain at once. Memories are, and we don't really know exactly how memories work. Anyway, so that's the frontal lobe, and then the parietal lobe. That's right here. That's where this sensory portion is. The sensory portion is part of what we call the parietal lobe. And the parietal lobe, so all your feelings, anywhere where somebody touches your hand, you feel it right there. Or right here, somewhere around here. The parietal lobe helps put things together. Like it'll take sound, what you hear, and put it together with what you're trying to say to produce speech. And send that off. And it goes through the frontal lobe as well. So this is a kind of an association area. Association between different things happens here in the parietal lobe. The back of the brain, the occipital lobe, is vision. Mostly vision, but there's some other things too. But all the signals that come in from your eyes go all the way to the back of the brain to be processed. If you get hit in the back of the head, you'll see stars. Have you ever heard that? Because this place becomes activated. If you get damage right here in the parietal lobe, you won't be able to understand speech. There have been people with strokes to this area, and to them, to me it sounds like I'm talking here, but to them it would sound like, they can't understand anything. This area interprets the speech that comes in. This area here, the temporal lobe, is mostly to do with hearing. You can see auditory association area, primary auditory area. This is called the temporal lobe. It has to do with hearing. Here's an interesting surgery where they show you how they can figure this stuff out with one of these electrodes.
We can go back to the brain surgery to demonstrate the electrical nature of the nervous system. In addition to recording the brain's electrical activity, the surgeon will use another kind of electrode to introduce a small electric current into the patient's brain. In essence, he creates a nerve impulse that travels through her nervous system.
Anything there?
The patient must be conscious to report the results of the doctor's probing. She feels little or no pain, for the brain has no pain receptors of its own. When you see her mouth open, it is because the doctor has stimulated an area of her brain that controls the mouth. She isn't moving it on her own.
Anything there?
The patient may feel a tingling sensation somewhere else on her body instead. The impulse could even cause the patient to see things that aren't there, or hear music. The effect depends on the site of the stimulation.
So you don't have pain in your brain?
No, there's no pain sensors on the brain itself. You can't feel it when they're cutting your brain. Now, you can feel it when they cut open your skull to get to your brain, so they give local anesthetics to keep that from hurting. And so if the doctor's kind of poking around somewhere around here, and he kind of knows that this is a sensory area, he'll poke around and he'll say, "You feel anything there?" And the patient will say, "Yeah, I feel something in my lung, in my leg." You say, "You feel anything there?" "Yeah, I feel something in my arm." And usually the reason why they're poking around like this is because the patient has a brain tumor, which is a growth in the brain that has to be removed. And the doctor will poke around and ask the patient what they're feeling. And if the patient says they don't feel anything there, that's where the doctor cuts. Because you don't want to cut an area that feels your arm movements. You won't be able to feel your arm anymore if you cut that area. So he's got to figure out where to go in, you see, to get at the tumor. Isn't that interesting? So I've seen them where they're poking around in areas that have to do with speech. And so they're poking around kind of in this area, and what they'll do is they'll have the patient start reading something. They'll say say the letters of the alphabet, and the person will start going A, B, C, D, and they'll be poking around with the electrode while the person's talking. And if they hit one place, it goes, the person's going A, B, C, and they go, okay. And they actually take a little sticker and they put it on the brain right there where he poked. And so he knows not to cut there, because that's important. The person won't be able to talk. Is that interesting? That's what you make the big bucks for. Anyone here want to be a brain surgeon? A neurosurgeon? You got to pay those guys about $15,000 to go in there and cut open your brain and go inside and remove the tumor. Hey, that's, you make money for a car in one afternoon. I remember coming home, I'd worked all summer at the hospital delivering charts. And I got all my paychecks, and I remember going, "Dad, I made $1,400 this summer," whatever it was. And he said, "Oh yeah, I made that this afternoon." He's a surgeon. I was like, "Oh man." I was like, "Give me some of that." He's like, "No." He's like, "You gotta earn it."
What kind of surgeon is he?
He was a general surgeon. A general surgeon is someone who does a surgery where there's no specialty. Like he used to remove gallbladders. That's just kind of, you don't have to go to a brain surgeon to get a gallbladder taken out. You don't have to you just go to a general surgeon.
Would a brain surgeon be able to do that, or is he just kind of...
Probably, but since it's not their specialty, you don't want to go and do it because they haven't done many of them. You want somebody who's done a lot of them. So.
My dad was a surgeon for 10 years.
And he was a neurosurgeon?
He was a neurosurgeon, and he stopped doing surgery, and now he's just a neurologist.
Ah. But did he do brain surgery? Nice. How long do you have to go to school for, do you know?
9 years. He went to medical school in Italy.
That's after college, 9 years after college. There you go. It's a lot of work. But you can imagine, you want somebody who knows what they're doing that on you, right? You don't want just some guy off the street. Okay, so here is, like I said yesterday, we call this the brain stem. The brain stem is active in your subconscious activities. Do you remember what this thing was in the back? Cerebellum. That controlled your what?
Motor.
Your what?
Your thinking and
Muscle
memories.
movement.
Muscle coordination. Yeah,
Very good.
muscle coordination. You were on it.
Said motor.
Motor. Yeah, muscles. Muscle coordination here. Breathing, heart rate, all the things that have to do with subconscious. Blood pressure is right here in the hypothalamus. Thirst and hunger are right here. Body temperature is right here. Water levels is right here. There's a lot of stuff you got to keep just constant. Your emotions are just kind of spread around here. This area here. Fear, love, hate. You notice that fear is not under your conscious control? You don't have conscious control of whether you're scared. Something jumps out at you, you go like that. Even if it's just your friend. You know, you can't consciously control it. It's kind of interesting.
Wait, what's the brainstem doing?
Everything that's subconscious, not under your conscious control, is all here in the brainstem. Heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, thirst, hunger, cold, emotions. This area right here in purple is called the reticular formation. That's the area that stimulates your consciousness, that activates your consciousness, right here. And if that area is damaged, you can't become conscious. That's what a person in a coma, that's the problem a person in a coma has. They've damaged their reticular formation. Every night you go to sleep and your reticular formation looks out for your body. Even though you're asleep, part of your brain is awake and it's listening to everything you're hearing and it's feeling the changes in the room. Have you ever just suddenly woken up and your friend's like staring over you, messing with you? And you're wondering, how did I just wake up like that? It's because your ears were listening and they heard something or they felt them breathing or something. And your reticular formation goes, this could be dangerous. Let me wake this person up. And then your reticular formation sends out signals that wake you up and make you conscious.
Where's the part that you're scared? Where's your fear?
That's all in here. It's all spread around in here.
Have you ever
We
had
call
a
it
dream?
the limbic system. Yeah.
Have you ever had a dream where you like fell and you wake up like?
Yeah.
What
Yeah, it
was
wakes
that?
you up. We don't really understand dreams yet. We study that in psychology. If you want to take psychology, we'll talk about that for a day or so. We don't really understand how dreams work. But the dream must have been so bad that your reticular formation said, hey, could be in danger here, and it woke you up. So even dreams, I guess, can do that. But if you damage this part, you can never wake up, and that's a coma. And some people get in a coma and never come out of it because this has been so badly damaged. Nerves often don't grow back after they're dead. So you can easily, people who are in a coma may never come out of it.
And isn't it like when people are brain dead, their brainstem is the only thing left?
Yeah, you can, if all these cells up here die, your brainstem can still keep you alive, but you can never think again and you can never be conscious again. But your brainstem controls like your heart rate and stuff like that, so it could keep you alive.
Can't you like understand things though when you're in comas?
Some say to some extent. It depends on how bad the coma is. So how badly this thing is wrecked depends on whether you can understand things or not. Because the understanding goes on up here.
Have there been stories when someone goes into a coma for a long time, but then they come back?
Yes. Because sometimes these things will regrow very slowly. You can look that up. It's like 20 years. Yeah, 15 years is the record for somebody coming out of a coma.
For them, it's like 15. It's like that. Right?
Yeah, it's just like you went to sleep and woke back up.
Like, 15 years later.
What if you went into a coma when you were like 11 years old and you came out like 10 years later and you're like 20?
Yeah, you'd look different. You'd grow hair and everything.
Do you dream when you're like a coma?
Usually not, because most dreaming happens up here, and usually this part is not doing anything.
It would just be like blinky. That's scary. Could die.
Wake up in your, how do you wake yourself?
This is a part of the brain associated with memory. See all this purple area? It's associated with memory. The amygdala, the hippocampus. These are parts that, if they're damaged, you don't form any new memories. You'll see the movie, The 50 First Dates?
Yeah.
It's in this area called the limbic system and the diencephalon.
Oh wait, does that have Adam Sandler in it?
Yeah.
Can it go back? Because she remembers everything.
It could possibly fix itself, but again, neurons are slow to heal.
She dreams about
car
it.
crash, and then after that, she's
Right, because this forms new memories. So if you damage this, you'll remember everything from a long time ago, but you won't be able to form new memories.
She dreams about it and like take pictures of it.
Yeah, well, it is. Just
That was in the thalamus?
The thalamus is in the middle here. And these are kind of outside the thalamus. This area right here is called the diencephalon. It's interesting that smell feeds directly into it. Smell is very strongly associated with memories. Maybe you've noticed that before. You smell something, you go, and that brings back a memory.
Like Christmas smells?
Yeah, like Christmas smells.
So the diencephalon is like memory?
It has some memory in it, yes. You can study the brain for years. We're just kind of touch on it here, but the brain is very complicated. Psychology is a whole class, part of which is devoted to studying the brain.
Can we watch 50 First Dates first?
No. But you can watch it for fun credit.
What's that called?
I don't know. I just made it up. The simplest action that nerves can do is called a reflex. Let me show you a reflex real quick. Can I have that? Okay. Try this at home in your spare time. Here's a simple reflex. It's called the knee-jerk reflex. Oh, that was a good one. If you hit your ligament in the right spot. Oh, that was a good one. It's a reflex. And what happens here is a signal, when that ligament stretches, a signal comes from it down this long process here into the spinal cord. There's a synapse here. This is called a sensory neuron, by the way. There's a little synapse, and then there's an interneuron in the spinal cord. And then there's another synapse, and then there's a motor neuron that goes to your muscle. In this case, he's moving his arm. In my case, I was kicking my leg. That's a quick reflex. The reflex they're talking about here in your book is when you put your hand on something hot. You ever done that? Put it on a hot stove and you pull it back real quick, and you don't even realize you've pulled it back already before you could even feel the heat. Because it's a reflex. A reflex is the quickest mode of action. And it only involves maybe 2 or 3 neurons. You can have some reflexes go in one neuron, and there's not even an interneuron in the middle. They go out in another neuron. And you don't even have to go to the brain to do a reflex. The reflex can take place completely just in the spinal cord. So somebody in a coma will still show reflexes because it doesn't involve the brain. By the way, that reflex, kicking out your leg, is a walking reflex. You ever been walking up a flight of stairs carrying something and you don't know when the last stair was? And you're expecting the last stair, so you keep your leg bent, but there's no stair there? Well, in that case, you begin to fall. And it stretches your little ligament, and it makes you kick your leg out, and it catches you. And so when you're doing this, you're just kind of walking up the stairs, and you're going, cool, and then you go, and you go, ooh. I didn't fall. That helped our caveman ancestors survive being eaten when they're running from something and they don't see the rock there. You see what I'm saying? So, these reflexes are very important in activities. Now, what thinking is taking these signals that are coming in and making them go to the brain and having many, many neurons in between the incoming signal and the outgoing signal. Somehow when you stack up thousands of neurons and connect them all together, you can think and figure out how you want the signals to go out. So a reflex is kind of the simplest way of doing an action. Thinking and then performing the action is a lot more complicated, and they haven't really figured out how it works yet. The simplest organisms all operate on reflex. A jellyfish doesn't think at all. It completely operates on reflex. You touch a jellyfish here, its tentacle will go over here. It senses a chemical here, and it'll open its mouth and eat it. It doesn't have to think. It's all pre-programmed. The more complicated the organisms get, the more brain they have, the more connections they have between incoming signals and outgoing signals, and it gives them somehow the ability to think. So it's very interesting how the nervous system evolved. The simplest organisms, and they're still out there today, jellyfish, just have reflexes. More complicated organisms, when you start getting into worms and insects, they got a little brain where the signals come in and they bounce around a little bit before they go out. Now, they still have some reflexes, and we still have some reflexes, but a lot of what we do is thinking. Yeah?
How come some people have faster reflexes than other people?
Usually when you test your reflexes, they're testing to see if your nervous system works. Now, a bigger person would have slower reflexes because the signal comes in and goes out in a longer cord, right? That's why big people seem to be slower. If you watch a big basketball center, he seems to be moving around a little bit slower than the little point guard, you know? Because the point guard doesn't have as far to shoot the electrical signals, and the combination of all that makes him look quicker. But for the most part, the signal travels at about the same speed, Emery, along the neuron. It just depends on your size.
So how can